Let y'all know that we are actually doing an amazing challenge for March for Women's History Month. And the challenge is going to be focused around attaining or exalting your current Yummy Yoni, right? So I just wanted to come through and just tap in and give y'all some, you know, life changing and actionable information that you can utilize to help to exalt your womb space, help to exalt your yoni space. As you know, Goddess Body, we provide holistic health for the 21st century goddess. And we have recently launched into expanding from just the product offerings to an entire goddess academy. And the academy is slowly dripping out a multitude, a dynamic level of courses, classes, books for women who want to excel as a holistic entrepreneur, or even just to learn for that mom at home that just really wants to switch over to more herbal and natural care, but would like the education on how to do so, switch over to more plant-based or a plant-eating type of regimen where you're eating majority fruits and vegetables, or a detox regimen, or women that are looking to heal from endometriosis, extensive, cramping or PMS, hormonal imbalances, you name it, cysts, fibroids, all of that. The Goddess Academy has come together in a way that offers something to the entrepreneurs looking to scale in the natural health beauty business, or just the everyday woman that is looking to find information that will help her to get to the next stage in life or to exalt where she's at. So we have courses on herbology. We're going to have courses on, we currently have courses on holistic manifestation using a plethora of holistic tools. We're going to have courses on spiritual baths, plant science. We'll have certifications where we'll be certifying women to become holistic health practitioners. And so there's so much coming down that pipeline. And so right now, though, the focus is Yummy Yoni. And so if you check out YUMMIYONI.net, you can also click the link in the bio. That's how you will register for the Yummy Yoni Challenge. Now, the Yummy Yoni Challenge are for us ladies who are looking for not only to necessarily heal from a specific issue, but to exalt the yumminess that we already have. So, I have some women like, well, my yoni is good. Like she's tight, she's moist. I don't have any issues. I've never had a yeast infection in my life, I don't have to do anything. I use the self-care and all that, but there's a difference between Yummy Yoni is good, and there's a saying called good, better, best, right? So good is great. That's natural. That's flowing. But how do you want it? How do you know you can't take her to the next level? And I'm going to be talking about that tonight, like what that looks like. Like, how what Can I get in a little bit of detail? Like, what's your grip game looking like, sis? Like, can you, because your grip game is a measure of your pelvic floor health. And that's a real thing. Like, a lot of us are or have experienced, what is it called? Where your uterine is tilting slightly forward. And because of that, so the uterus naturally moves, right? It's like a swing. It naturally moves. And some of us, prolapse is the word I'm looking for. Some of us have experienced, due to childbirth or just a weak core, have experienced uterine prolapse. And the prolapse is when the uterus is slightly tilted forward, right? And that slight tilt forward, and it's an unnatural position for it because either your gut has too much like toxicity or debris, or it's backed up and it's pushing down on it, or you might have had a C-section or some other surgery that had kind of messed around with the actual position of it, and it's causing it to be prolapse. And that prolapse alone can cause issues with your pelvic floor. It can cause urinary incontinence, where like you sneeze and you accidentally urinate, and just so many things of that nature that we don't even consider, that even knowing it could cause extensive cramps, and not even knowing that, how that connection from the gut with the yoni health is tantamount, right? And so there's a level of good, better, best. Like, yeah, you might not be experiencing any bad. Yeah, you might have a good grip game. You might be nice and moist, but there's a better and a best even level. And it's like anything else in your body. Once, like any other muscle or any type of area you're looking to grow, like, some of us want, just to take off some extra fat around our waistline. Some of us don't have much fat around our waistline and want to get more chiseled, look. Some of us want a more curvy look. Some of us want to take our strength and stamina to the next level. And the same notion or mindset can be applied to your yoni. So I say there's good, better, best. Yeah, you might be good to go in some areas, but other areas that if you know nothing about, like deep womb breathing, like you would have no idea what that can bring and how you can utilize that good and healthy yoni space and womb space to really bring about change, tangible change and manifestation, and your divine feminine tapping into that and having you attract more of what you want and need in life just by being, just by breathing, just by eating certain things. And it's tied into our womb health and our yoni health. And there's those of us who are actually experiencing some issues. There's those of us that experience yeast infections like clockwork. There's some of us that experience BV like that. And BV is bacterial vaginosis. That's like a yeast infection on 10. It's become systemic and it's hard to kick. Let me tell you a little story. When I was around 16, actually I got my cycle around 12 years old. And so around 14 actually is when I started experiencing really, really bad cramps, like terrible cramps. And if you're just jumping in now, I'm talking about the Yummy Yoni challenge. You can get more information on YUMMIYONI.net. And right now I'm just going into the reasons why it's really important for us to focus in on our yoni and womb health as women. And so when I was 16, it kind of reached a level of like dire health with my yoni and uterus. I got my cycle at 12. At 14, I started experiencing really, really bad cramps, like bad, like bring me to tears, bad, like have to go to school and work through it, miss school. And by the time I was 16, it was so bad that I would run through an entire bottle of Advil. Like I didn't even know how much this was a shock to my liver and kidneys till my early 20s. But I would run through an entire bottle of Advil, okay? And Midol, and Midol stopped working. So I went to Advil and extra strength. And I would run through that entire bottle every week I had my cycle. Right. And then the cycles became longer. I started having more issues with the cycles to the one point I remember in high school, I was wheeled out on a wheelchair during finals because I couldn't focus. I couldn't walk. I was extremely nauseated. I would throw up profusely. It was so bad. Like my mom, I remember her thinking that I was pregnant and I'm like, no, I'm on my cycle. Like I'm not pregnant. The doctors, at the time they couldn't tell me what was going on. Nobody said, this could be an issue of, pent up emotions. This could be an issue of your diet. This could be so many other issues that we know today are tied in to our uterine and our yoni health. Nobody was telling me all that. They just kept feeding me more drugs. And so by the time I was 18, I started experiencing cyst, vaginal cysts, to be specific, Bartholin cyst. And Bartholin cysts are like the most annoying thing in the world. If you're experiencing them, I totally identify with that. And, there's things on Goddess Body that I highly recommend that I took, that the lifestyle that I took on to get rid of that and never have to deal with that again. But nobody told me all these different holistic factors tie in to the manifestation of this, and the PMS, the cramping, the pain, all that was a sign saying that something's direly going wrong, going from 4 days to 5 days to 6 days to 7 days cycles, to the point where like 18, 19, they're saying I'm likely going to be infertile. I keep having these cysts. They keep growing and coming back and then growing and coming back. And when I say coming back, it's because I would have to go to the doctors to have them drain. Like, it was so painful. I used to sit like, kind of like looking like, like with my legs crossed, because I couldn't sit down all the way because it was so painful. Sitz bath is like a very small amount of water with the highest salt level, to try to bring the down. And all that being said, the very last time I went to the doctors, when I was around 19, 20, regarding the cyst, they told me they were going to put a catheter in me, and the catheter was for the cyst to be drained, right? Like, just ongoingly, because I would always come back and it would pop and it would be a hot mess. And so they put the catheter in me, and at 19, honey, the last thing you want is a catheter in your pum pum, okay? At 19 years old, that is not where it's at, right? And so I'm walking around with this goddamn catheter, and like, not to mention what this was doing to my mental health and my emotional health at 19. Nobody knows what's going on except for my closest friends and family, walking around with this daggone catheter in my pum pum so it can drain a cyst that won't go away. Like, it would drain it and it would just fill back up. And I'm like, how am I supposed to live like this? Like, this is crazy. So after 6 weeks of that, after 6 weeks of that nonsense, I went back to the doctor and was like, I gotta get this out. Like, I can't function like this. And so, for those of you that don't know what a catheter is, it's a very, very small needle. And so they left it on the wall, on the outside, of the yoni, and they had a little ball, like this little, like, think of it like a little balloon that I would just have to wear, and it would be taped against my leg. And it was the hardest thing to clean around and wash around. It was just a hot mess. And so I went back to the doctor. And then, and so that led to some other issues with yoni health, because just the of trying to cleanse the area was so much of an issue. Like, I couldn't use certain soaps. I couldn't use certain things. Like, yes, at the moment we are talking about Bartholin cyst. So I went to the doctor. I went back and was like, yo, like, we got to find another solution. I got to take this out. So they went to take it out, and they couldn't find the needle. They couldn't find the needle. The needle went up inside whatever. And I'm like, this can't be life. This can't be, like, they couldn't find it. And so they wanted to do this major surgery. And I was like, okay, the buck stops here. Long story short, I met my, not met, but my homie at the time, really close friend, and her boyfriend at the time, who was really my close friend right now. He's actually the owner of my children's school, and my kids have been going there for the past 8 years. But all that being said, they were really deep into holistic sciences, and they put me on to Dr. Layla Africa, and that changed my entire life. Because the way Dr. Layla Africa teaches, he taught from an African holistic health perspective. He taught from the perspective of not only the herbs that you take for healing. It was a whole lifestyle, and not only just lifestyle and for the food you eat, the herbs you're taking, the products you're using. It was your mental, the things you're thinking, how you're thinking them, and then as a melanin dominant woman, looking at the African side of holistic health, or taking it from an approach of the things that our ancestors knew and accomplished with the medical aspect alone, in ancient Africa, with the medical aspects alone, there's I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Ebers papyrus or the Edwin Smith papyrus. They're named after colonizers who found them and brought them to the world, to recognize them. But the actual names of the papyrus are in the, ancient Kemetic names. So I say all that to say I was introduced to this, And it was mind-blowing. Like I was going to school at the time for biology. And so I still continue that. I love the plants. I love learning about earth's secrets and nature and all of that for healing. And so I finished that, but I finished it with the perspective of African holistic health. And so I was able to combine the holistic knowledge of not only the food and the herbs and the cleansing and the detoxification and the mental health and the emotional health, but the ancestral knowledge, the spiritual health on how to heal not only the yoni in my womb to the point where the cyst never came back after a year. So to double back, I did what Dr. Africa said, God rest his soul. I did what he said. I followed his routine to the T. And at the time, especially going at my first year of college, I started drinking heavy, and like everything I was doing was making the situation worse. I was drinking the worst of the drinks. Okay, so it's like it won't no wine and stuff. I was a whole man back then. Okay, I've had to find balance in my femininhood, and so, but I was drinking. What was the drink? Like, I'm so embarrassed to say it, but I'm gonna tell y'all because it's true. Like, I was drinking Coke 45. Was it Coke 45? Like, it was them big 40-ounce malt liquors. Like, I was drinking stuff like that. I was smoking. I used to smoke what are they called? Black and Milds. Like, we was just off the chain, like, for no reason. But I was always like on my stuff. Like, I was always studious. I was always an A student. Like, I was, you know what I'm saying? Yes, honey, the 40s, like, the worst, because that's what I could afford, right? And I wanted to be, I always felt like I had to prove myself. I had identity issues. I had a lot of issues. And a lot of it was that mental and emotional health that was just feeding into these growths and these problems, And so because of that, I was just making it all worse. And so Jenny and BJ were introduced to me, as I look at them like as an angelic intervention in my life. Like, God was like, when I was praying and was asking, like, how do I heal this? He brought them into my life. And I looked at them at first like they was crazy. Like, like, how am I supposed to accomplish all this? It was like, Dr. Africa's going to be in DC. I went to school in Richmond, Virginia. And so they were like, he's going to be in DC. You should just check him out. And so I was like, well, shoot, I ain't got, nothing else to lose, right? So I went and checked out Dr. Africa, and he blew my mind. So I took everything he said. I made up all the herbs. I detoxed, and this is where the Goddess Body Cleanse and everything from Goddess Body comes from, this experience and my learning from this man. And so, I did that for a year, and the cyst stopped growing back. Not only did the cyst stop coming back, my periods were like I had no issues, like no cramps. I didn't even know when they were coming. I had to learn how to clock them by the moon cycle, and do the count, so that the 28-day count, so I knew when it was coming, because I would have no pain. And this is coming from a point where I had to get wheeled out in a wheelchair, where I couldn't walk, where I had to have a whole bottle, which is dangerous, okay? Extremely dangerous, having a whole bottle worth, and I did this for years, of Advil, to not feeling nothing. Okay, so nobody, there's you can't tell me that the holistic science, when applied, can't heal the world, because I know it can, because I know what I went through. And I know what a lot of you are going through, because I see it in my emails and I see it in my DMs, and it's what pushes me to keep moving forward, and why we launched this Yummy Yoni challenge. So yeah, it's not just about being tight, it's not just about being moist. It's not just about just having a hygienic approach. It's a deep-seated spiritual, emotional, and mental bond with the uterus and the womb and the yoni area that can allow us to tap into a divinity of femininity that helps to attract anything that we seek, helps to give us the stronghold, right? It helps to give us the persistence and the trust that we need, that everything we need and want is already here in the ethos, and we just have to attract it to us. And that's next level. That's what I mean by next level yoni health, next level yoni healing. It's not just about the physical anymore. It goes into the emotional and the physical. The emotional and the spiritual. But that's where everything starts. So ultimately, we're backwards because we tend to look at the physical of everything. We're attracted to the physical. We're attracted to the wetness and the tightness of it, right? We're attracted to the look of it, the feel of it. We're attracted to the hygiene of it, the smell of it, all of that. We're attracted to that. And I don't say like women are attracted. I'm just saying our self-care, the men are attracted to that, and the women that are attracted to that are attracted to that. But what I mean is, our focus as women tend to be on the physical and the hygienic side only. There's a whole world that has not been focused on when it comes to yoni health, yoni healing, womb health, womb healing. That has not been focused on, let's say, in the popular scheme of things. Now, in the eccentric or in the let's say a more holistic or alternative scheme of things, it has been, but we want to try to bring more of that type of thought process and understanding forward, and that is what the Yummy Yoni challenge is all about. So that was my healing that came through that, and then from that day forward, not that day, but from those moments forward of experiencing that healing, I knew that my purpose was to bring this to not only my family, but this knowledge to women. And so Goddess Body, initially, my intention, was to have it as a school, but I would always be asked to make the things that I'm telling women to do, right? To if I could provide it. And so Goddess Body ended up, that's what was attracted to me, that, it ended up being a brand that created and cultivated the herbs, the supplements, the hygiene, holistically and naturally, using this knowledge to women worldwide. And it's been a beautiful ride, and it continues to be. But now is really where I step back into that space where it's time to go back and teach this knowledge. Women in general, people in general, are just way more open-minded than they were, a decade ago when it comes to holistic understanding of things. And the spiritual and emotional nuances behind them. Okay, so the Yummy Yoni challenge is up right now. We are in early bird phases. We are launching the challenge. It's going to be a 5-day challenge. We're launching it for Women's History Month, of course. So we're going to bring in March on some Divine Feminine. It's going to be 5 days, 6 days if you're VIP. VIP is where it's at, because with VIP, we're actually going to do the work together. But if you can't do the VIP, it's okay. Definitely jump in for the seminars. The seminars where there'll be like a whole bunch of master classes, and everything's going to be live. Nothing is pre-recorded. I want to engage with you. I want to do Q&A. I want to do the work with you. And 5 to 6 days later, I want to see the results. And I'm also going to teach you how to carry it on into your life. And so the Yummy Yoni challenge, it centers around four aspects. We'll call it eat, breathe, clean, and squeeze. Okay? Eat, breathe, clean, and squeeze. So to sign up, it's again yummyyoni.net with eyes, yummy with the I, yoni with the I, .net. And the link is in my bio. So if you just click the link, you'll see 5-day Yummy Yoni challenge, and get it now, because early bird actually ends on the 15th. Okay. So eat, breathe, cleanse, and squeeze. So the eat part, of course, one of the master classes and seminars and classes are physical classes. Now, this is a whole totally online challenge. So no matter where you are in the world, you can sign up for this. Okay. Everything's going to be online. And so I want to say we're doing the class, the interactive part together. We will be online doing that together for the VIP ladies. So the eat part, there are certain things that we should eat to exalt our yummy yoniness, and there's certain things we should avoid, as far as consumption and eating and drinking. Number one is, okay, it goes without being said, but I'm gonna say it anyway. We need to be drinking water. Now, I was that sister. Again, in my teenage years, I was just a little ignoramus. and I ain't listened to nobody, and I suffered ill health because of it. And so I used to hate water. And there's another reason for the reason why I hate water that I will share. I mean, not hate now, excuse me, but then that I will share during the challenge. It was it was a tie-in with a traumatic experience that I had, and it caused me not to like water. It caused me to hate water. And so I didn't realize that tie-in, again, because I was never taught to think holistically. I didn't know anything about holistic health. And so I didn't realize that the reason why I hated water was because of this traumatic experience. And so I would just say I hate water and like to drink water. I was a Sprite chick. I drank Sprite like nobody's tomorrow, okay? Like, I drank Sprite so much, like, I could have been like an endorsement agent for Sprite. It was ridiculous, all right? So I drank it day in and day out, not realizing how it was attributing to all these issues that I spoke about before. Even with just hygienically, on the hygienic level, like I would constantly go through these different washes and different things, like, what's going on? I got to the point where I would take a shower like 2-3 times a day, and I'm like, what is going on? But it was because I was not hydrated. I was severely dehydrated, like severely. So with eat, breathe, cleanse, and squeeze, the main aspects that we're going to be going through the Yummy Yoni challenge, the first one being eat. Part of that eating is your hydration. Drinking half your body weight in ounces of water sounds like a lot until you start doing it. Because half the time that we think we're hungry, we're actually thirsty. Okay? Your body is not an island. All right? It is many different parts that are all brought together by the way you think of the oceans to the continental to the different continents of the world, and how the oceans bring us together. Like, we can travel the oceans and to bring us together, and then things go across the oceans so that we can trade and whatnot, and all the organisms that travel throughout the oceans, all of that together within our body acts the exact same way. Like, our blood is like the oceans of our body, and that things travel through the oceans or the blood vessels of our body to get to the various organs or the various continents of the world, right? We're an entire world, and our all parts of our bodies are connected through water. We're over 75% water. And so if we're not feeding our body the flow necessary, to bring the nutrients, to bring the herbs, to bring the minerals, all of that, then we're starving areas of our body. And the yoni responds very quickly to water. So if you're dehydrated and you notice your moisture levels going down, or you notice, pungent type of smells and things like that are not normal, discolorations, stuff like that, then check your water intake. Because that, I promise you, that's like the number one thing when it comes to what you're eating and what you're drinking that can help to elevate your yoni health immediately. And so I highly recommend half your body weight in ounces of water. Now, if you're not used to drinking that much water, or if drinking that level of water makes you like nauseated, that means you're severely dehydrated. If you drink 2-3 cups of water and you feel like you got to throw up, that means there's too much toxicity inside your system, to the point where, like, you have, when you have mud caked up on the ground and you put water on it and it's muddy and stuff, you can't even see the grass yet. Like, you got to keep pouring the water on it so you can clear out the mud. So initially that mud is coming up and you're like, oh, water makes me sick. Impossible. Water don't make you sick. You are water. Water can't make you sick. It's what you've put in your body that's making you sick, and the water is starting to clear it out. The body has a way of an intelligence, a beautiful God intelligence that packs things away when it can't get rid of it fast enough. And you're backed up, you're backed up, and your uterus prolapsed and your stomach is prolapsed because it's holding too much weight. Now you got a gluten intolerance. I'm telling you things that I know because I've been through it. Okay? And so the water in and of itself. Now, other things you can eat are now there's some people that are allergic to fruits, but all in all, fruits are your friend because they're water based, So the more high water content fruits are, the more yummy your yoni will be. All right? Because not only do you have the fruits, you have the nutrients, you have the vitamins, you have the water intake, and you have the fiber. And the fiber is going to help keep your digestive system flowing. And so that's just 2 areas. And we're going to go in way deeper on that eat section, on that lifestyle section, on the things that you consume. Because you don't just consume food and water, right? You consume air. You consume television. You consume your phones. You consume energy. And so we're going to go really, really deep on the Yummy Yoni Challenge, YUMMIYONI.net to sign up. So the other aspect, for that day, for the VIPs, we'll be doing our Yin Yoni Yoga. All right. So Yin Yoni Yoga, if anybody's familiar with yoga, Yin Yoga is a very slower, pronounced form of yoga where you're holding poses for a lot longer. It's not like this marathon kind of sprint through all the asanas and bendy and flexy. It you know, some people's versions of yin might be bendy and flexy, but mine's is very much more focused on the yoni health, on the womb health. And so we will actually be physically, like, show up with your mat and your Yummy Yoni comfy clothing if you're VIP, right? Which I highly recommend. And we're going to actually go through a practice that you can start to implement in your life every day. It's going to be about 30 to 45 minutes on different yoga poses and different aspects of breathing and, guess what, squeezing, that we're going to do to help exalt our yonis, to help bring them into balance, to help heal, and to help to bring them to another level of aligning with a divine feminine that helps to attract things to you without you putting so much energy out. So we get deep into that, and that's just day 1. That's just day 1. Day 2, we're going into breathing. And we're going to talk about the importance of deep breathing and breath in accordance with your womb and yoni health. Now, most of us breathe very shallowly, right? Shallowly. So we're breathing most of the time, we're unconscious of it. A lot of us are under stress, and the stress breathing is a flight or flight breath, right? Ain't nobody think about no breathing, you know, when you got to run away from a goddamn lion. But in our everyday lives, a lot of us are our body is acting as though we're running away from that lion every day. You know, that lion that may chase it, that may be chasing us might be our light bill. It might be our kids. It might be our relationships, right? That lion could be our job. You know, it could be some toxic friends. You know, that lion that we're under stress about a lot of times is finances, right? Look what's going on in the world right now, right? It could be health. That lion could be our health. And so our bodies are in this constant state of stress where we breathe like this. Can you hear that? When we get angry, we automatically go. When you get angry, the first thing you should do, and this requires training, and this is some of the things I'm going to teach you. But what you do, the first thing you should do when you get angry, you just take a deep breath. But we're not trained to do that. And most times when we're mad, we don't want to do the things that are right for us because we want to be mad. When we're mad and we're angry and we're upset and we're irate and we're sad and we're depressed, we want to stay that way, right? Consciously, not subconsciously, but consciously, we want to feel that way. Because why? Because all those rage hormones are flowing through our body. Are all flowing through our body. And because they're flowing through our body, it's more of a challenge for us to stop the flow because we're feeling it. It's in our body, right? And so the point is teaching you all the ways that I had to implement breathing for my womb and my yoni health were a game changer. I changed everything. And though I did it with the perspective of womb and yoni health, because I was dealing with a prolapse issue, because when you deep breathe, your diaphragm sits under your breastbone, right? Your diaphragm sits right here. And so when you deep breathe, you're pushing down. That diaphragm is pushing up and down. And it's almost like a massage to your gut. And when your gut is moving up and down to that level, it's also moving that tilt I talked about of the uterus. So now your uterus, instead of being a prolapse or in a position that's unhealthy for it, where it can't do what it needs to do properly and you're suffering, it's now starting to sway and come back to its natural position. And when it's swaying and coming back to that natural position, things that have been pent up in your gut, in your colon, in your uterus, and ultimately causing ill yoni health begin to lift just from the way that you breathe. Okay, but nobody's teaching us this. These are like ancient. I don't know if you heard about the Tao or the Taoists. There's a book that I highly recommend that I'll talk about in the Yummy Yoni challenge that goes really deep into womb health, manifestation, and yoni health. And it's an old book. It's a very small book, but it's just about deep breathing and creating what is called a microcosmic orbit. So if you want to look up microcosmic orbit, you can. But not to go far off on that, but that you'll be learning breathing techniques that help to pretty much soothe and heal your inner organs, and with the focus being on highly magnetizing your uterus and your womb and your yoni. Now, I know I'm talking a lot about uterus, womb, and yoni. Uterus, womb, and yoni. The words are not interchangeable, and we will get into some basic anatomy there as well during the challenge. Yummyyoni.net to join it for the challenge. Yummy with an I. Yoni.net to join the challenge. We are in our early bird phase. The prices will be going up after the 15th. But those words are not interchangeable. There are different aspects, okay, of your feminine organs and your feminine health that we're going into it. The womb can be interchangeable with uterus, but when I say womb, I'm talking more energetically. Uterus, I'm talking about the actual physical uterus. Yoni, I'm actually talking about the vaginal canal. All right? Different things then, okay? And so some of you might be asking, well, I unfortunately, had to experience a hysterectomy, or I made a choice to have an hysterectomy, or, I've had some type of ovarian surgeries. How can this help me if I don't have a uterus? Your womb is energetic. Remember, we started with, we didn't start with as above, so below. That was in my mind. But we started with everything starts as energy. Okay? Everything starts in the spirit. Like, we are spirits living a human existence. So everything started as a spirit and then became an energetic piece. It started building molecules. So you look at the breakdown of our cells. When we learn cell biology, you learn the cell is a basic unit of life. Well, it's a basic unit of life because it's when everything comes together to metabolize things. It's not necessarily a basic unit of life. It depends what your definition of life is. So in order to even have a cell exist, you have to have atoms. And what are atoms? At the basic level, proton, neutrons, and electrons. Those are the three most, unless you're a physicist, those are the three most popular atomical, beings in existence. Protons is positive energy. Neutrons is neutral energy. Electrons is negative energy. So what I say, we start as energy. You can't touch a proton, neutron, or electron, but they come together to form molecules, and those molecules bond together with different forces of nature, okay, to create cells, and your cells come together to create your organ systems in your body. So we start as energy. So you electively or non-electively not having a uterus does not take away from exalting your womb space, because the energetic blueprint is still there. And I'm going to get really deep on this in that day 2 breath area of the Yummy Yoni challenge, because there's aspects of healing and health that are just not talked about in the West at all. And it's that area of the blueprint of life, that energetic piece of life that is more powerful than anything physical. Anything. So breathing into that space will still cause wonders for balancing your feminine hormones to those ladies that don't no longer have a uterus. It will still do wonders on your yoni health. It'll still do wonders on your manifestation and attraction and heightening your divine feminine. So please don't feel as though I'm using these words and that's not you. It's you. You have a womb even if you don't have a uterus, okay? If nobody didn't tell you, I'm telling you. So we get really deep into that. And then, with the VIPs, we're actually going to practice. We're actually going to do a whole womb breathing session. I'm going to guide you through it. And that's something you'll be able to take with you and do all the time to continuously help to cultivate that and see massive changes in your life. Okay. On the third day, we will be going deep into what we did. We did eat, breathe, cleanse. And so cleanse will be really fun. Because, we're going to get into hygiene practices. Some of the stuff our mamas taught us and grandmamas taught us was right. Some of it was wrong. And a lot of the stuff you see on the internet right now is just wrong. So I'm going to get to go in and yell with the mic. I probably do it online anyway, but what the things we're doing that's actually causing more harm than good for our hygiene and our wellness, for our yonis, and how we're taking them from a Yummy Yoni to Yucky Yonis. We don't want no Yucky Yoni. I don't want no Yucky Yoni. I know you want no Yucky Yoni. So stop using them detox pearls. Ooh, I said it. Stop using them detox pearls, sis. Listen. I done got really deep into some of the studies that have been done on these pearls, and I'm so glad they're finally coming out. And if there's anybody on this live who actually sells this detox pearls, listen to me, sis. You might not have known. You might have thought it was a good trend. You might have used it and saw some things coming out and thought those things was the things that was thinging you, but them they was not the things. I'm telling you now. Okay, those, if you've never heard of vaginal detox pearls, or there's so many names for them. Vaginal detox pearls in general, where they market these little balls, they're like little net balls, like usually about this big, filled with herbs in them. Okay, most of the people, and I'm only careful on what I say, because some women are really just they're just ignorant to it, and they're just reselling it. And not the eggs, not the yoni eggs. Yoni eggs are good, and I'll get into the yoni eggs, not the eggs. And that's another thing that I've noticed, like the markets are being confused, the difference between a yoni egg and a yoni pearl. And the eggs are not what we're talking about. The eggs are actually made out of a gemstone. It's a gemstone shape of an egg. I should have had one over here so I could show y'all. But we sell the yoni eggs. But the eggs, I'm going to get into the eggs next. But the pearls, while I'm in the cleanse aspect of the Yummy Yoni challenge, check out yummyyonichallenge.net, Yummy with the I. Click the link in the bio to sign up. We're still in early birth phase, and we're going to be going over this extensively. But the detox pearls actually have herbs stuffed in them, okay? And they're in these little white net baggies, and they purport to cleanse or to detox your yoni and to detox your womb. Your womb doesn't need detoxification. Your yoni is self-cleaning and self-maintaining on the inside. This is why there's so much heavy kickback over the last decade over douching, and how it actually throws off your pH when done on a regular basis. It's just not good for you. You have certain microbes and you have a microbiome of bacteria that's necessary to be in the yoni to keep it self-cleansing, right? To keep the mucosal membrane doing its job. And when you wipe it all out, you cause more harm than good. You're bringing down the natural defense system. And so what those pearls are doing, a lot of the women selling them are not, I would say, if I had to put a number on it, I would say like 90% of the people selling these are not herbalists. They can't identify those herbs if they wanted to. I got a hold of some of them, and I am a herbalist. And I couldn't tell you what the herbs were. And that's a problem, because I've been doing this for over a decade. So they're so gooked up and meshed up in there. And there's some type of binding agent in there that Lord knows what. I want to put this through an actual machine in the lab to test the actual things that are actually in there scientifically through a mass spec. Some of the science nerds know what I mean. Mass spectrometry. or even, you know, with the light spectrometry, and it'll break down and show you what's actually the numbers of which, and that's how they test to see if what levels of toxic compounds are in a certain certain substance before you can bring it to market. So they'll go and say, oh, the FDA approved this amount of this toxic compound because at this amount it's not harmful to humans, or whatever the crap they come up with to sell crap that you don't need, you know. But they use these type of tests to measure elementals, like the amount of certain compounds in a solution or in a formulary. Okay, and so I wanted to run that test, but some tests have already been done, and what has come out about those pearls is just, it's bad. Like, one of the main substances in the pearls is a substance called borneol, BORNEOL, which is caustic, which it's like a major, it's something that strips membranes, and it's so strong and caustic it should not be inside the yoni. Matter of fact, Canada has already banned it. Canada has banned any substance with borneol in it, and they're in the process of banning yoni pearls altogether. Okay, so if you're selling them, I would pivot right now if I were you. If you weren't aware and you just jumped on the trend and you saw the pictures and you're like, wow, this is helping women, I want to help women too. Well, you got to do your research, sis. You got to join the Goddess Academy. I'm going to be teaching herbology and holistic health and all of that. You know, you really want to be the change you wish to see in the world, you got to do the work. We can't just keep jumping on these trends. Women, these yoni trends will be the death of our yonis. I'm telling you. Somebody yoni going to fall off in the street. And she's going to be like, oh, why hast thou forsaken me? Because we're tripping right now. Like, you can't just go on the internet and buy something based off of the market and say, oh, I'm just going to stick this up in me because I'm tired of it. You got to do your research. And so this is day 3 of the Yummy Yoni challenge. We're going to be definitely going into heavy on the do's and don'ts of healthy yoni hygiene alone. Okay. And then for the VIPs that day, we'll actually be doing our Yummy Yoni dance class. And the dance class will be all the different movements and gyrations and oscillations and tingsdom that will help keep us, our uterines in the specific place that they're supposed to be as far as physically, that area tone, of course, toned, in our yonis. We're going to be bringing in everything we've learned so far into movement and dance in a way that is intentional, highly intentional, and creating more of that magnetic attraction, feminine aspect to us, where we're able to focus on things and have what we need to see it manifest come to us. That's the energetic piece. So there's physical, and then there's a metaphysical, and there's the tangible, and then there's intangible, and that's what holistic health is, bridging the gap between the two. And so with cleansing, again, on day 3, we're going to go in. I'm going to talk about, what you should see, like in your vaginal washes, what's good, what's not, the oils, aphrodisiac oil, what's good, what's not, basically what's good and what's not topically and inside of your yoni, pads that you should be using, because a lot of the pads out here have been bleached, and that bleach residue sits on our yoni and causes all types of hormonal disruptions, and we're not even aware of it, and all of that. We're going to go into that really, really, really deep, but no yoni pearls anymore. No, we got to stop it. So, if you're just joining, we're talking about the Yummy Yoni challenge. We will be kicking off March, Women's History Month, with 5 days of Yummy Yoni-ness. So I definitely want you to, I set it up so that, women that just really want to join, and, I didn't want there to be anything cost prohibitive. So we have the VIP for the women who really want to go extra deep into the practices, but the seminar itself is very affordable, and I have it priced now on yummyyoni.net, yummy with an I.net, or you could just click the link in our bio and register, because the prices will go up after the 15th. And so the last day of the challenge, we're going to go in on tightness. So we went through eating, we went through cleansing. Well, eating can also be consuming eating, breathing, cleansing, and then tightening. And so for the tightening aspect, ladies, that is where we will learn how to best perform Kegels. So you're like, we're going to spend a whole day on Kegels. No, it always goes deep. Like, how am I going to talk over an hour for just Kegels? Like, we're going to actually have a whole Yoni fitness routine that brings everything together. And so this is where I introduce and go in on the concept and the creation and why there is even such thing called a Yoni egg. Now, before the word Yoni egg was popular, they were referred to as jade eggs. And they're referred to as jade eggs. This comes from, a lot of this comes from traditional Chinese medicine, the jade egg aspect, because they were actually made out of pure jade. And the reason why they're made out of pure jade is because that gemstone has an affinity to the lower root chakra. If you don't know what I mean when I say lower root chakra, this is why we need to have these conversations. This is why we are doing this Yummy Yoni challenge to begin with, because there's so much more to your yoni health and your womb health imbalances and womb health exaltation outside of just what you eat, taking herbs, and that's it. There's an entire energetic, mental, physical, and spiritual component to womb health that creates such an aura around your being that you become an attraction magnet. I promise you. And I'm not talking about attraction on a sexual attraction. Yeah, that might happen too, sis. So, wear your crown. But I'm talking about on a manifestation level. And jade, if you know anything about jade gemstones, are one of the number one stones for healing your heart and prosperity. So we have a stone here that is known to help attract situations and bring up situations to help heal trauma, heal your heart, but also bring in prosperity and also heal your womb space. Jade. So this is why jade was the main stone used in the jade egg practices, and it's called the jade egg practices before the term Yoni egg became popular here in the West. The jade egg practices have been going on for centuries. It's documented now. A lot of the stuff that had been going on that far back was first told. They were first griots, right? Who told the history, who told the lineages, who told the stories, and was passed down by the word. And eventually that word became into the written context, and the written context got it out to the cultures and then the global society. So it would stand to say that this has been going on for well over 5,000 years. But again, there's a book that I will be really honing in on by Mantak Chia. And he was kind of the conduit to bring the secret jade egg practices, outside of TCM and Southeast Asian medicine. And so we use the jade, and that's the only type of gemstone you will find on Goddess Body that we sell for this particular practice, because it's rooted in the ancient knowledge. Any other gemstone being used for Yoni egg practices is not the way it's traditionally done. Let me just put it that way. So, you have these different eggs, rose quartz or a quartz egg or a malachite egg, obsidian, and all these different gemstones have different properties, different healing properties in alternative holistic health. And so women have been using these different stones because they're like, okay, I want to focus on this aspect of my health, so this other aspect, or attract more love, or attract more, or heal from trauma, or this. So they're using these different stones. But some of these stones, if you know the actual physical aspects of the stone, some of these stones, when put in water in moist areas, are highly porous, and so they leach. And so you don't know the conditions those stones were made in. We're not going that deep into gemology when we're using these stones for the yoni. And so the jade egg is pristine in not only its physicality, in the actual porosity and the gemology of the stone to be used inside of the yoni, it also has all these other energetic benefits as well. So I only purport jade, and if you can get your hands on specifically nephrite jade, that is the stone that our ancestors have been using for the longest to exalt our Yummy Yoni health. And so again, that will be the last day of the challenge. And if you have your eggs, bring them VIP, because I'm going to be teaching you some jade egg exercises. And we're going to bring on the very last day, that would be day 4. On the very last day, we'll have one more day where we bring everything we've learned all together and create the Yummy Yoni lifestyle. So that we are not just healing, but we are exalting that divine feminine. And that day 6, if you're VIP of the challenge, the last day actually falls on March 8th, which is International Women's Day. So we'll be in total alignment with divine feminine. And we're really going to get into the manifestation pieces on the call, and how manifestation and what you are trying to create in your world is keenly tied into your womb and your yoni health. And again, I touched on it earlier. If you do have any issues with your womb or your uterus, or you don't have it anymore, you had a hysterectomy, you had a partial hysterectomy, this is still the challenge for you, because everything starts as energy, right? You still have that blueprint there. You still have the hormones running through your body. You still got a vagina, right? Right. So that's my take on all things going on in the yoni world. If you have any questions, you can ask me here, or definitely shoot them over to info@goddessbody.com. And I will see y'all on the Yummy Yoni challenge. Can I get a yummy if you are going to sign up for the challenge? Can I get a YUMMI in the chat if you're going to sign up for the Yummy Yoni challenge? We start in March again, but early bird ends on Thursday. It ends on the 15th. So whatever day the 15th of February is the day early bird ends. So get in where you fit in, sis. It's YUMMIYONI.net. All right. Peace, ladies.